Hey guys, good morning and welcome to today's session. So today I want us to begin the process of creating a pipeline, right? Call it a CI/CD pipeline. So a continuous deployment and a continuous integration pipeline. We'll create these videos in a series. And so today is the first series. And in this series, we'll be deploying a Jenkins server on an EC2 instance. I'm very sure most of you at your jobs have been asked to create a Jenkins server, and so that your organization can use it for your CI/CD pipelines. That's the first thing we'll do here today. So this is Primus Learning. My name is Primus Veku, and welcome to this very first session. So the process of doing this, these are some of the things we'll do. The first thing to do is that we'll deploy a Jenkins server on an EC2 instance, and we'll use Terraform to do this. So I'll walk you through the process and show you how to do that. The thing to note is that this EC2 instance needs to be accessible through the internet and via port 8080. And then only you should have the capability of accessing this EC2 instance through SSH. You could open it up to, the CIDR range of the various IPs for your organization. So it all depends on your use case. So we'll be using Terraform to create the infrastructure. And these are some of the things that we'll accomplish in the process of doing this, right? We'll create a VPC, we'll create an internet gateway and attach it to the VPC using a route table. So if and of course, we're running this on AWS, and that's why you're beginning to see names like VPCs and so on, guys. So we'll create the internet gateway and attach to the VPC so that there will be, a connectivity, right? There will be internet. And then we'll be able to create a public subnet so that the EC2 instance will sit in a public subnet so that they will be accessible to the internet, of course. We'll have to create a security group for the EC2 instance. We need that security group such that we can grant people access to that environment. We can SSH allow port 22 such that we can SSH into the EC2 instance. We would also create a script to automate the installation of Jenkins on the EC2 instance. Once you've created the EC2 instance, you have to install Jenkins on it. So we'll automate that process and then create the EC2 instance and attach an elastic IP and key pair to it. So we want to make sure that we have a key pair, such that you'll be able to use that key pair and connect to the instance. But of course, at the same time, we'll make sure that we have an elastic IP so that it doesn't change from time to time. Imagine that you stop your instance and start and it gets up with a new IP and you already had a domain name configured. You'll be in a messy situation. So we'll verify that everything is working correctly. For you to be able to follow this tutorial, you need to have some of these prerequisites, right? Like the AWS CLI needs to be installed. Your Terraform has to be installed as well. So if you wanted to create, we'll have a certain structure that would follow in terms of our folders, right? So I have a folder structure that will follow, and to create the folder structure, I think at the end of this video, I'll attach this, I'll add some of these commands and code snippets to this video so that you can follow the tutorial as well. So here are my file structures. I've created them already, so that it can go a little bit faster. So first of all, you have to create a Terraform-Jenkins folder. So you can decide to name it the way you want it. That's no problem. You can name it the way you want, guys. And then under that Terraform Jenkins, you want to create another folder. So go inside the Terraform Jenkins and create another folder called modules. So this Terraform script is modular in nature, right? So you create another folder called modules, and under the modules, create another folder called compute. You see there's the compute, which will be where we'll create the EC2 instance. Then we have the security group, because it's a resource, right? The security group is a resource. So you want to have a security group folder. And then you want to have as well You see, so these are the two folders that we have here. We want to have another folder, which is called the VPC folder. So remember we said we would have to create a VPC at the same time. So once you've had these things ready to go, that's it. You want to create some files also under the root of this module. So under the root of Terraform Jenkins. So if you go into Terraform Jenkins, you see just those files. So if we bring down this one, bring down, so these are all the modules. And then under the modules, you want to have something like the variables file, you want to have the secrets.tf file, and you want to have the output.tf file, you want to have the main.tf file. These ones are showing log this because I ran this earlier. And you're seeing .terraform here because I ran this earlier as well, and it created a state file and all of those things. But you shouldn't worry about that. All right, so let's get into these modules and I explain a little bit what they mean, what they are doing before we can go ahead and create our server. So the first file that you see under the main.tf file here, you see you're setting up the name to your Jenkins server, and the name is Jenkins Server, right? The name is the Jenkins Server. This is under the files that you'll be the things that you'll be creating. But first of all, remember the module is the main code, the main thing that you want to create. And so under the module's main file, you see the module's main file, you're sourcing from the module because you've created a module. You've created a module here called modules, right? And you're sourcing from the module /VPC to create what? You want to create something. So the first thing you want to create here is a security group. Then you will have to create an EC2 instance, and it will be to create the EC2 instance. This is the compute. That's why we created the compute folder right here, right? And then to create a security group, you see we created a security group folder. This is the security group folder. And to create a VPC, you would have a VPC folder, and that's why we'll have the VPC folder down here. So this is all it's doing. And then for under the VPC, you see that you'll be creating a CIDR block and then a public subnet as well. And then under the module, you would have the VPC ID that will be created. You know, these will be outputs that will come at the end, and then you have an IP address that you add. You need to pass an IP address to be able to run this. I'll show you where to pass that IP address. So let's go under the main.tf file. So under the main.tf file, you simply want to create a resource called what? Called AWS key pair. So we'll be creating a key pair, and the key pair name will be tutorial.keypair. I will show you how to create a key pair. Then the key name will be tutorial.keypair, right? And then public key should be located this way, and it should be called a public key, right? Tutorial_keypair.pub. That's how it'll be called. The next resource you want to create would be the AWS Elastic IP, and that's named Jenkins. This is like the name under the hood, but the real name that you're giving it will be Jenkins Server. So you name it the Jenkins Server, and so the instance will be AWS instance.Jenkins server and then .id, because you want to get the ID. VPC, will you use a VPC or not? Yes, it will be under a VPC and so on. So this is just the main file here. The output, you simply get the output of the compute. So the output of the instance. So you want to get the instance IP address because we'll use it later. So if you go to the security group, it's the same thing. You see a security group that will be created. And remember we said we want to open port 22. You see port 28. Well, of course, we want it to run on 8080. So we'll allow traffic through 8080. And that's why the port that want to expose this port to the internet. You see the port is exposed to the internet here, everywhere. 000 means everywhere. And then we want to open up port 22 because to my personal IP, right? To my instance IP. That's why we say my IP here, and the range, the CIDR block that we're using is 32 here. And so will allow SSH such that we'll be able to connect to the EC2 instance and do some stuff inside. All right, so that's what this block here is just doing. So same thing, allow outbound traffic to the internet. So egress here, this is all about that one. And then we'll get the output, of this as well, which will be the security group. The security group ID. That's it. And then under the VPC, we'll simply create a VPC with a CIDR range, and of course a output file under the VPC, which will give you the VPC ID and the name and all whatnot. So that's it. Remember, I said you need to create a key pair. You need to create a key pair. And to create a key pair, you can use this command to create a key pair. I'll attach this command to our to the video when I release it. So you can create a key pair using SSH, right? So SSH-keygen, this is the normal command that you use to create a key pair, and then you create a tutorial underscore key pair. That's the name you this is how you name it, right? So when it asks for a name, this is the name it will pick up. That's the name it will pick up. And then you will have to move this key pair you have to move this key pair to this directory right here, modules underscore compute, because that compute, the EC2 instance, right, will have to use that key pair to create with. That's what it will use. And it has to see a key pair called tutorial underscore kp.pop to be able to work correctly. And then after that, you have to move the tutorial underscore key pair to you have to name it or move it. You're moving it to .pem. So you want it to be a PEM key, and then you want to grant it 400 permissions so that you'll be able to run the EC2 instant. You'll be able to run, you'll be able to SSH using that key pair. So you want to grant it 400 permissions right here. So this is the command you would use. You can run it as a whole just once and you get it done, or you run it, step by step to get whatever you want to do. So once you've created this structure, you've had everything and it's ready to go, guys, you will have to cd into the Terraform underscore Jenkins folder. This is the folder where you want to be. This is the directory you want to be in to be able to run this and get this to work, right? So the first thing you have to do is get into Terraform-Jenkins directory, and then initialize Terraform in here so that the providers will be downloaded, everything will be downloaded. Remember, you have your providers that are defined here, right? Where did we define our provider? We defined the Terraform required providers, source, HashiCorp, and then the version, and then the required versions, and then the provider is AWS. You want to invite the AWS provider, or you want to download the AWS provider. So what you need to run to get this to work, therefore, is Terraform on init. So you run Terraform init to initialize the backend, to bring it down the provider, and to bring down all the plugins that you need to be able to run Terraform in your environment. So we've done that and it's successful. Yay. So it's all green. So this is the first thing. So you see, guys, we'll be creating an EC2 instance, installing Jenkins, doing everything in just a few minutes. So we've done that. The next thing you want to do is you want to plan and see if really this is what you want to install. This is what you want to do, right? So you run Terraform plan. And then it'll ask for the value of your IP address. Remember, I said we'll need to pass the IP address of your machine so that while you're creating your security group, it picks up that, that value, and it's able to create to allow us to access that EC2 instance when it is created. So I put the thing under the the secrets.tf vars. So this is the IP. This is my local IP. So I can just do that and then pass it here. and enter. And voila, I'm planning to see which resources will be created, what will be created, and all of that. So Terraform is telling me, hey, these are the number of resources that will be created. These are the things that will be created, guys. A lot of things will be created. So it's planning, it's telling me these are the following resources that will be created, a key pair will be created, blah, blah, blah will be created, and so on and so forth. So you can go through it and see exactly what it will create. So you can see the details here. It will summarize it somewhere here. So I'm trying to get a better view of it, guys, for you to see that summary, that little summary. Yes, it says plan is planning to create 9 resources. That Terraform is planning to add 9 resources. You see, you add 9 resources. Nothing will change in the current state that is in AWS. Then nothing will be destroyed as at now. And then you would have a Jenkins public IP that will be known after you've created the resources. So you can't know the IP of an instance when you have not created the instance, right? So Terraform is telling us here that we'll only know the Jenkins public IP after we've done the changes, after we've created, after this thing has been applied. And so after you've planned and seen that, yay, everything looks good, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to create, then you can go ahead and do Terraform apply. And so we'll use some options here. We'll use what is called var dot file. So we want to use a file, a var file, right? A var file called the secrets.tf vars, because that is where our IP is. We want to pass that IP directly. We don't want it to be asking us, hey, where do I find blah, blah, blah. So how you pass that is you just go secrets, secrets.tf vars, such that you are able just to apply once and create everything at once. So what I forgot to tell you is this script. I forgot to show you what this script will do, right? This script right here will simply go in. It's a shell script. That's why we're starting with this. It's a shebang, right? That's why you're starting it with this, and then you're telling it to go get wget, right? You want to download something, and then you want to sudo and add something. So it's an Ubuntu, and that's why you see we are using apt key. So you want to do that. You want to get this Debian packages. This is the package you want to get, and then you want to sudo. So you're using sudo sh. You want to echo this and see whatever is in here, and then you want to pass it. You want to output it to this directory, and then you want to update your environment, your EC2 instance. You want to make sure that it's up to date, and then you would install this. So you want to install a package, you want to install something, and then because you need this to be able to install Jenkins. And after that, you simply install Jenkins. Once you've installed Jenkins, please start the Jenkins. So you use systemctl to start your Jenkins, and that's it. So this simple script here will install Jenkins in your EC2 instance. I just wanted to show you that. So we did our plan, and now we want to apply, right? We want to apply, we want to run our apply, and we've passed everything ready. And so we can hit apply, and that's, oops, failed to pass command line flags. Oh yeah, so we didn't define our flags correctly. Let's see. Let's see. I think I got an error, a mistake somewhere. So run. Let's see. Command line flags, var underscore. So let's see. I think I ran this incorrectly. Oh yeah, I see. That's not a dot, that's a dash. It should be Terraform. Where is it? I just ran it. So it's not a dot, but a dash that you're supposed to use. Yes. So it's supposed to be Terraform Terraform apply dash var dash and not a dot. We used a dot, not a, it's not supposed to be a, so those are the common errors you face as you're working through. This is a working session, guys. So of course, these errors are expected. Shows that we are not just it's a working session. The same thing, the same type of errors that you have at work, you just figure yourself out and correct them. So these are the changes. Remember, we did a plan already. It's reiterating again, asking you, do you really want to go ahead and create these resources? Oh yes, that's what we want. So it will create 9 resources and it's asking you to approve. And the approval you need to give it is a yes or a no. So we are saying, yes, go ahead and create these resources. So it's going ahead and it's creating. So you can see that the module, this module is creating some things. It's creating tutorial underscore keeper. It starts with those ones. So it's creating the keeper, it's creating the VPC, it's creating stuff. So things are beginning to happen. If you go into the AWS console, you can see how these resources are being created. So the EC2 instance Jenkins server is being created. So if you go into your console, AWS console, you should be able to see, some things begin to happen, right? Some things begin to happen. Let me remove this. You can see that currently there's nothing running. There's no server that's running here. Just of a sudden one is initializing, you see. And the name that we gave it, remember that name is Jenkins underscore server. This is it. And it's already been assigned an IP address. We'll not copy this IP address here. You remember we said under compute that it should give us the IP address when it's created. So once Jenkins underscore public IP has been created, it should give us. Remember we said it in our output file, right, under compute. And so we asked it to give us the Jenkins IP on the Jenkins public IP, and this is exactly what it has given us. This is exactly what it has given us, Jenkins public IP, and here is the public IP. Now, this means that the EC2 instance has been created, and we are able to install stuff inside. We're able to use this installation file and install Jenkins inside. And we told it to use 8080, use port, run this on port 80. Let's go to a console. We know that this is running already. So let's go to the AWS console. Someone is calling me, sorry. Let's go to the AWS console and see if effectively this thing is working as expected. Oops, something is happening. Now, remember, we just ran it, so it's still initializing, but we'll have to use port 8080, just as we said earlier. And so if you hit enter here, you see that, hey, something is happening. Voila, it's telling you, please wait while Jenkins is getting to work. Jenkins is preparing itself. It's still installing. Once you run that script, it goes and it installs things, but it's not just automatic, guys. It takes a little while to do all of that. So it's in the process of installing. So give it a moment. Now Jenkins has installed, right? Jenkins has installed, and it's telling you to ensure Jenkins is securely set up by the administrator. A password has been written to this location. How do you get the password? This is how you get the password. You can cut the password. So you can copy this and just go back here, right? You can copy this and just go here and, oh no, first of all, you have to log into this server. Sorry, I was too ambitious. So you first of all have to log into this server to be able to access the EC2 instance. And remember that key pair that we created? Yes, the tutorial underscore keypair.pem that we created with the command that I showed you. You can use that key pair to log into this instance. So you can just do this SSH-I, and then you pass the key pair name. The key pair name is tutorial. You can fill it out, you see. And remember, it's an Ubuntu server, so you have to type in the username of the Ubuntu server that that's it. And then you simply put the, oops, no, not that. You simply put this IP address here, this IP address. See this IP? This is what you want to have run here because it's the easy to instance IP. You just do that and hit enter, and it's asking you, do you really want to connect to that instance? You say yes, you want to connect to that instance. So it's trying to see if you can connect to that instance, and yay, we are in. We are connected to this Ubuntu server. Although you are seeing the private IP here, but we are connected to the same instance that we wanted to connect to. And so you are ready to go. And now you can go back, we can go back to the AWS console. See the AWS console here and copy this and simply cut it out to see the admin password because we need a password to continue setting up this Jenkins server. So let's go back. Since we are connected to that instance, we can do sudo cat and then we give the path we just copied. Voila, it gives us the temporary password. This is a temporary password that it allocates for us. And so let's use that temporary password to log in to this Jenkins server. So continue. Now you can not, you just leave that. So want to install suggested plugins. You remember Jenkins uses plugins to be able to do the work it's supposed to do. So we'll be using some of these plugins during our demos, our upcoming demos. So let's just go ahead and install the recommended plugins. So it's doing its work. You see it's installing folders, it's creating workspaces, it's creating stuff, bringing you a Gradle, bringing you Ant. These are some of the packages and libraries and plugins that we'll be needing to be able to run stuff in Jenkins, to be able to use Jenkins as a CI/CD tool. So you need some of these plugins, you know, to sorry, I have a cold, to be able to do that. So guys, give it a moment. It's almost here. All right, so let's call, it's asking for a username, a password, and of course for your name and so on. So if you were your organization, you would simply maybe use your organization name. So my organization name is Primus Learning. So I'll just use Primus Learning here as the username. And then the password, I'll give it a password that I'll remember. Let me not be talking and forget the password. And then we can give it a name, which is your name. You can just put your name here, no problem. Primus. And then your email address, use your email address. I will just use that one. And then save and continue. Then it will ask you, hey, put the IP address, the URL that your organization will be using, right? So if your organization is primuslearning.org, you can put primuslearning.org here if and only if this IP address will be mapped to primuslearning.org. So if you were primuslearning.org, I could do that. But since we could do that in a future video where we'll be mapping this, we'll be using Route 53, right, to create a record for this Jenkins server and use this IP address. Remember, it's a static IP address that we created, an elastic IP address that we created, and we'll use that in Route 53, maybe configure it to our name server so that the people will be accessing Jenkins through a URL or a subdomain, whatever thing we decide to do. So just save and finish. For now, we'll just go with what we have with this default because it's just a demo. So start using Jenkins. You're ready to go. So just click in. And guys, this is a Jenkins server as you know it to be. This is how a Jenkins looks, right? This is Jenkins. For those who have used Jenkins before, this is how it looks. And you can begin to create new items, you can begin to create things and create freestyle projects and so on and so forth. So on our next video, we'll be showing you how to create a pipeline using this Jenkins server. Next video, we'll be creating a pipeline. So a CI/CD pipeline, learning how to create a CI/CD pipeline using Jenkins. These are some of the things that you can actually use as your real life project in interviews. You can use this as a real life project that you did, creating a CI/CD pipeline, in your interviews, and trust me, you'll land those jobs, those DevOps jobs, guys. But yeah, let me know in the comment section how you feel about this video. I will add, I think I'll just put all the code that we used, all of that, into a GitHub repository and put the link right below the video so that you can access it and try out this tutorial for yourself, and you can use it in your interviews as some of the projects you've worked on. So thanks, guys, for watching. Thanks for the opportunity to listen to me. I really appreciate it. And thanks for your comments. I also appreciate them, and keep them coming. Bye-bye.